Hello, this is Michael Willems of speedlighter.ca, your daily source of photography tips, tricks, techniques, everything to make you a better photographer. Today a quick tip about Lightroom and in particular about the healing brush in Lightroom. A few things you may not know about it, about this very powerful tool. The healing brush. Let's say that I have a shoot. Well, in this shoot I wouldn't change anything because it's a new shoot, but let's pretend this is a fashion shoot or a wedding shoot where I want to improve my pictures a little bit by removing blemishes, removing dust spots, removing things that I don't want in the picture. Again, you can't do that in news pictures, but you can in other pictures. For example, let's say that I'm looking at this picture, I want to remove the phone. I don't like it there. Well, I can go to Develop and select the healing brush, or I can do that just by the letter Q. Can you see in the preset there it says spot removal Q. So from wherever I am, even if I'm, let's say, in the grid view, just the letter Q will take me to the develop tool. Alright, if I cover this phone and click, it removes the phone. Alright, that's one. Another tip. If, for example, I do the following. Let's say I go to this picture of myself with Mr. Gillette. Let's say I want to remove this lapel pin he's got here. I'm going to select it. I'm going to change the size as I drag the mouse there, which I can only do with the mouse, by the way. I can't do this with the trackpad. Move as I resize. So here we go. And I click and it samples, but I don't like that sample. It selected a line there. So all I need to do is hit the / and it resamples from a different area. If I still don't like it, / again, / again, until I like where it samples from. If I don't like where it samples from, I can manually correct it. I can say, well, I want to sample from here. And now I'm done. That's a manual resample. I can also go back to the old behavior. The new behavior is as shown. You mark and it samples, and if you don't like it, you resample. The old behavior was as follows. If I hold down the command key, I get back to that old behavior. I copy the item and I hold my mouse down, and then I need to tell it where to sample from. And I select a sample point and let go. So this makes me manually choose every time. So the command key does that. Now let's say that I've done a bunch of changes here, and I now realize I actually don't want all these silly changes. Well, I can go back and click on them one by one and then remove them with the delete key. Or I can just hold the Alt Option key down, and look at that, I get a pair of scissors. And now all I need to do is cover the area where my changes are, and as you see it highlights them all with a little dot. And then let go and bang, they're all gone. Two more tips. One, I can use opacity, and let me show you how that works. If, for example, this was a I don't know, some kind of a commercial shoot of some sort, a beauty shoot, then I might say, you know what, I lit this too far from above. I want to de-emphasize those wrinkles a little bit. Well, if I did, I'd go back to the tool. Now, what I don't want to do is just use the tool as is, like this, because what that does is completely remove them. There you go, it's all gone, the wrinkle. I don't want that. So then I drag back the opacity slider a little bit like this, and it just becomes a little bit less prominent. It's still there. It remembers my setting. See, there you go. That too is now less prominent. That too is now less prominent. And then finally, that too is now less prominent. Well, let's do this one too while we're at it. Here we go. Bang. Alright, I wouldn't do this in real life, as I said. But they're still there now, as you can see. They're just a little bit less prominent than they were. Now let me quickly remove them with the Alt Option key again. So I select the tool, hold down Alt Option, and there they are, all gone, and the wrinkles are back. Finally, of course, sometimes I have a difficult change, and in a difficult change you might end up seeing a circle somewhere here. Let's do a difficult change. Let's do one that deliberately isn't very good. Let's sample here and full opacity. And this one isn't very good, and you see a very well-defined circle there. Now, of course, this is a nonsense change, but it's good to illustrate my point. If I go to that circle and I drag the feather adjustment, Now it's a much less well-defined circle because it's feathered. It goes softer at the edges and it slowly disappears. So if you ever do a change that gives you a visible circle, feather it with the feather tool like this. And by the way, when you use that, you see in the tool it pre-indicates how much is feathered by the 2 circles instead of 1. Last tip, of course, what I've shown you is the healing brush, but this brush also does cloning. So if, for example, and again I'll do a nonsense change just to show you, if I were to go here, if I were to go to the tool and say I want to not feather, I just want to sample this from here, the healing tool tries to combine the texture of where I'm sampling from with the brightness and so on of where I'm sampling to. The clone tool, on the other hand, just gives me an exact copy of where I'm sampling from. Sometimes that's what you want. Usually I use this as a healing tool, not a cloning tool. If I want to clone heads, I'll do it in Photoshop. That's not what this is for. What this is for photographers to do their daily work very, very quickly with incredibly sophisticated math. This tool is an amazing tool. Learn how to use it, learn its tips and tricks. It's very clever in how it samples. If, for instance, I want to fix this, it samples from another area where it finds that same line. It doesn't sample from here, for example. Right? If I resample, there you go. It automatically tries to find an area with the same line. Very clever math. Learn how it works. It's one of the things that makes Lightroom an incredibly productive, efficient photography tool. Thanks very much. This is Michael Willems, speedlighter.ca, wishing you a very pleasant day.